Hello and welcome back to another video on the Football Zone and to another weekend previewing all of the Premier League and Championship action this weekend, and starting off with a massive game at the bottom of the Premier League, Watford and Norwich. Of course, Norwich got that huge win last time out against Everton, and Watford getting a crucial point against Newcastle as well, so both teams will probably come into this one with a bit of confidence, hoping to bolster their survival ambitions. But I just feel like Watford with home advantage will take such a boost, especially as that equaliser was so late. I think they'll get something from this one. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on, Everton take on Aston Villa at Goodison Park, and of course Big Dunk in charge for Everton in this one, so they'll be really looking forward to this. But Villa, they'll have such a boost from that turnaround against United. Coutinho as well, fit and firing, hopefully for them. So yeah, this was actually a hard one to call, but yeah, you just have to go back to the last time Big Dunk was in charge of Everton and the impact he had. I think it could be similar this time as well, so I'm going to say it will be 1-0 to the Evertonians. Moving on, Brentford take on Wolves at the Brentford Community Stadium, and this is an interesting one. Brentford now with 3 defeats on the trot, and they've been 3 heavy defeats as well, 4-1, 3-0 and 1-3, but admittedly 2 of those were against Liverpool and Man United. But Wolves, they're flying at the moment. But yeah, I just feel like Brentford, whenever they kind of do look like they're on a tricky run, they always come up with a result, and I just got a feeling this will be the same. I don't think they'll win, but I can see them just about sneaking the point. So yeah, I'm going to go for a surprise result, looking at recent form, and say 1-1. Moving on, Leeds take on Newcastle at the Ellen Road, in a game that I'm really interested in. Newcastle, of course, on a really shocking run, but they do have Trippier and Chris Wood getting more and more integrated into the side. I'm expecting a busy last week for Newcastle, but yeah, it doesn't look like they'll get anyone in at the time of recording before this game. But Leeds, of course, 3-2 win against West Ham last time out, so they'll definitely come into this one with more confidence, and I'm really interested to see if they can get a result out of this. I'm going to say 1-1. I think it will be a tight, even game, this. Moving on, Manchester United take on West Ham at Old Trafford, and yeah, this is a big game in the race for the Champions League. Manchester United 2 points behind West Ham in 4th, but with a game in hand. But of course Tottenham and Arsenal have more games in hand, so yeah, it'll be a really interesting game, this one. But yeah, I think United will be favourites. They are slowly and steadily improving under Ranieri. Of course, West Ham getting that defeat last time out will really have hurt their confidence in a winnable game, so I'm going to say it will be 2-0 to United. But yeah, really looking forward to this one. Moving on then, Southampton take on Man City at St Mary's, and yeah, this is a really interesting game. Southampton, of course, on a relatively decent run, you'd have to say, but of course did lose to Wolves last time out. But Man City, what can you say about them? Just absolutely flying at the moment, dominant at the top of the Premier League. The title race, I would say it's pretty much done now. But yeah, City, they just don't show any signs of stopping. I'm expecting a similar scenario here. I think it will be 3-0 to City and probably a comfortable win. Moving on then to Sunday's games, and starting off at the Emirates Stadium with Arsenal hosting Burnley. And yeah, this really is a must-win game for Arsenal. They're still in a decent position in the race for the Champions League, but yeah, this is a game where they really need to hammer home their advantage against the Burnley side that are really out of form and of course have been hit with COVID. So yeah, you definitely expect an Arsenal win here, and I think that's exactly what they'll do. I'm going to say 2 or 3-0. I'll say 2-0. But moving on, Crystal Palace take on Liverpool at Selhurst Park, and yeah, this is another game that I'm really interested for. Crystal Palace still in a pretty decent run at the moment, but I kind of have tailed off from that great run they had over Christmas, really. But yeah, against the Liverpool side, which are doing pretty well at the moment, considering they don't have Salah, Mane, etc. available. So yeah, it's still really a good time to play Liverpool, you'd say. But even still, I'd say Liverpool are favourites for this one and probably will pick up the win. I'm going to say it will be 2-0 to Liverpool. But moving on then, Leicester take on Brighton at the King Power Stadium in another game which is an interesting one. Leicester, that 3-2 defeat to Tottenham last time out will really hurt them, and it'll be interesting to see how they respond. But Brighton, on a solid enough run at the moment, what's that, 6 games unbeaten now, couple of wins in there as well, but mainly draws. But yeah, this will be really a test of the best character, and I do think they've got that in them. We have seen they do. I think they will get the win here. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on, Chelsea take on Tottenham at Stamford Bridge, and yeah, Chelsea, three wins on the bounce before this latest run of poor form, a loss and a draw. So they'll be desperately trying to recover that against the Tottenham side that's just so inconsistent at the moment. Lost 2 and won 3 of the last 5. That just kind of sums it up really. But yeah, it's a hard one to call this, but I just fancy Chelsea with home advantage might get the win. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on then to the Championship and a big derby at lunchtime. Derby versus Nottingham Forest. But yeah, this is an interesting one. Forest, of course, home advantage, and 2 wins on the trot, but you just can't rule this Derby side out with the way they're playing at the moment. 2-0 win over Sheffield United last time out, and you can never rule out Derby, like I keep on saying, especially this season. And I just fancy them to get a point here and to really scupper Forest's home chances with everything going off on the pitch. Derby never die. But moving on then, Bristol City take on Cardiff at Aston Gate, and Bristol City 2 losses on the trot and not in the greatest run of form, but you could say similar about Cardiff really. Still on a bit of a sticky run themselves. It's not clicking under Steve Morrison. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he's gone soon. But yeah, as I was saying, Cardiff and Bristol City, it's a hard one to call. 2 teams which, let's face it, aren't too great, are they? And I think it will end up being a draw. I'm going to say 0-0. But moving on then, Birmingham take on Barnsley at St Andrews, and yeah, this is another really interesting game. Birmingham not on a great run of form at the moment, it's fair to say. Same with Barnsley really. Barnsley haven't played since the 8th though, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects them. It's generally seems to have a negative effect, but let's just see. The players could tire towards the end, lack of match fitness, etc. And that's why I fancy Birmingham. Even still, I think Birmingham would have more quality with the season that they're having. But moving on then, Blackpool take on Millwall at Bloomfield Road, and yeah, but Blackpool, it's been a bit of a disappointing second half of the season. They, like Barnsley, they haven't played since the 8th, but yeah, still a bit inconsistent at the moment. Obviously lost to Hartlepool in the Cup, was really disappointing, but Millwall, they've lost 3 in a row in all competitions, and yeah, really need to revitalise their season. I feel like this is a good opportunity to do so. I'm going to say 1-0. I think Blackpool will tire in the last minutes. But moving on, Bournemouth take on Hull at the Vitality Stadium, and yeah, Bournemouth, they're so inconsistent at the moment really for a top team challenging, but you know, before that Luton's defeat, they were going pretty well, and I'd back them to rediscover it. But Hull, they will be on a massive up for all of the events on Wednesday. But yeah, I just think Bournemouth is a tough place to go, and I do think they will have a bit too much quality here, and I think they will get the win. I'm going to say 2-0 to Bournemouth. Moving on, Coventry take on QPR at the Ricoh Arena, and Coventry, 2 solid wins on the trot, but coming up against QPR with 4 solid wins on the trot, and they're looking really, really strong at the moment, potentially even lining up a push for the autos. You never really know, do you? But yeah, they're looking solid. Coventry, doing well as well, and still in and around the playoff mix at the moment. It's hard to tell with all the games in hand, etc. But yeah, I think QPR will have a bit too much here, and I think they will get the win. I'm going to say 2-0 to QPR. Moving on then, Reading take on Huddersfield at the Select Car Leasing Stadium, and yeah, Reading really, really poor at the moment, aren't they? Club's just in an absolute state. And Huddersfield going reasonably well, although they do have just 1 win in the last 3, and even that was just in the Cup, but it was against Premier League opposition. But yeah, they do need to rediscover some league form, and Reading are probably the targets they want at the moment, and I think they will pick up the win. I think they will have too much quality for Reading. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then, Sheffield United take on Luton at Bramall Lane, and yeah, this is a big game for Sheffield United. Obviously, drawing against Preston last night was unacceptable considering the position they were in, and Luton getting a solid win against Reading, but did they really get out first or second gear? I'm not too sure, to be honest. But yeah, this is a big game for both sides, both in a similar position. Can they push on to the playoffs? Let's see. I think Sheffield United are the more likely to do so, and I think they probably are the more likely to win this game. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on, Stoke take on Fulham at the Bet365 Stadium, and just like I keep on saying, Stoke just probably should have mercy on the rest of the league. Sorry, Fulham should. I wish Stoke were in the same position as Fulham. But yeah, Stoke, having said that, do have 2 wins on the trot. So they went over Hull last time out. But yeah, Fulham, they just look unstoppable at the moment. And can you really see it stopping now? To be honest, I don't see it. I think they're just in such a roll at the moment. I think they'll just continue like this. I'm going to say the scoreline will be 2-0 to Fulham. Moving on, West Brom take on Peterborough at the Hawthorns, and yeah, for Peterborough, obviously that 4-1 defeat to Coventry last time, it was so disappointing, a game that they really probably could have targeted to get a win, but QPR obviously beating West Brom last time out. They're not on a great run themselves. They really need to get Dyke firing to get back in with a shot in the automatics, or even just keep their position in the playoffs, to be honest. And I think they will get the win here. I think Peterborough are poor at the moment. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on, Swansea take on Preston at the Liberty Stadium, and Swansea, they're struggling at the moment, aren't they, on a really poor run of form, and yeah, I think the season's just going to kind of peter out for them, and kind of Preston as well. They're kind of similar positions, just mid-table, probably not going to make a playoff push, but you never ever know. But yeah, I think this is probably the game to miss if you're going to miss a game this weekend. So yeah, kind of hard to call this one, but I'm going to say it will be a 1-0 win for Swansea. I think home advantage will just maybe turn around their form. But anyway, moving on to the last game, and Blackburn versus Middlesbrough. And yeah, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Middlesbrough just scraped that win against Reading last time out. Not at their best, but still winning. Sign of a good side. But Blackburn, obviously 2-0 loss to Hull last time out. Maybe their good run is kind of tailing off slightly, but we'll see. This is a big game for them, just to keep the momentum going if they still do have it. But I think it will be a tough one. I think it will be a really, really close game. I'm going to say 1-1. I think it'll be a close one. But anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, know your thoughts, comments down below. Follow us to the link description for daily football news, and subscribe to my channel. It's going to be around. I'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.